Okay. And it says that I am live. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? By my watch here, it says it's noon. I think it's time to get this started. I will wait to see people speaking to ensure that I am actually live as I think I am, and that everything is working right. You should hear myself, and you should hear some background audio, selection of certain music that you may or may not be familiar with. I think most of us will be. People are saying hello. Awesome. I take it that means that I am being heard. Great. Hello, everybody. Awesome. Bit of an echo. Voice sounds deeper. This is one of those cases where we had done a bit of a test and gotten things sorted out like a day or two prior, and of course now things will be weird. I do have a new mic, I will say. Since the last time I've streamed, I believe I have a new mic. Overall, how is the sound quality? Can everyone hear me clearly? Is there an echo? Is there something weird going on? I can try and figure stuff out if need be, while we enjoy this amazing grand staircase. Always beautiful to see. God, the lighting is gorgeous now too in here. Yep, yes. Yes, it's good? Or yes, there's something wrong? You can hear me clearly. Okay. I'm just gonna assume it's fine until someone says that something's going on weird. Awesome. Hello, Sean. Hello, everybody. Loud and clear. Okay, perfect. It seems like we're good. So, yes, I decided to start us off here in the grand staircase because, of course, it's iconic. And also, the clocks in-game reflect the real-world time, so I thought it was kind of neat to start with the clock there. In here, but there's a little lag in the video. I wonder if that's because I've got... Okay. Give me a second. Just trying to make sure. I am going as clearly as I can here. It has been quite a while since I have done one of these streams, so I think some of my settings... The beautiful purple carpet. We'll get there, don't worry. Seems better. Okay, good. I think I need to have this closed over here so it's not taking up as many resources. Awesome. It feels a little better on my end too. So hopefully we are good now. Over here, let's just take a quick little peek into the gym as well, because why not? The lighting in here is absolutely phenomenal. These frosted glass windows letting in the sunlight. Oop, bumped my head into a punching bag here. Had a punching bag, a minigame voyage. So yes, if you are joining me and you don't know who I am one of the developers for a... oh, look at the sunlight right there. Amazing. I'm one of the developers for a game called Titanic Voyage. It's a web game that runs every year, where we recreate in real time the Titanic's voyage, from the beginning to the sinking to the rescue to the arrival on the Carpathia in New York. Most of the people here are familiar with that game, I think, but if you are not familiar with it, you can find it at www.titanic-voyage.com. It will be running again this April, starting on April 10th. Registration opens on March 10th. I think that's all I really need to say about that. Again, most people here probably are familiar with that. If you're not, go look it up. But what we are doing right now is Titanic Honor and Glory's Demo 401, which is a very highly detailed recreation of the ship and a lot of the spaces on the ship. And fun fact, I actually helped to QA test this game for the past, almost a year now, I guess. I've been involved in some of the dev builds for this, so I've seen a lot of this already, many various states and to make it as good as I could by trying to find bugs and issues. So there's that as well. I have some personal experience with this demo also. It's been fun. Still just phenomenal. Okay, so I'm like just talking and walking. This is first class cabin, I think A3 or A4. I always forget the sides. This is a new cabin that's been added in this demo. It wasn't here previously, or rather, the frame of the room was, but none of the furniture was here. Lovely little cabin, forward-facing window looking out over the forecastle deck up there. Great view. I would love to be in a cabin like this. Honestly, it's almost like a miniature suite. You got all the amenities you get from a suite in this room, for the most part. Okay, back we go. There's a lot to see. The star of the day really is the ship itself, but I just have to, again, give a big shout out to, I don't know how to say his last name, I'm sorry, I think it's Derek Verveer. Derek is the one who has spent the better part of a year painstakingly improving these models and the lighting and everything that you see here to make it as incredible as it is. The whole team at Titanic Honor and Glory, really, they're doing what no one else has done with the level of visual fidelity of this demo. And there's also a project upcoming called Project 401 that I'll eventually speak a little bit about. I like being a bit zoomed in, but I'll try and not zoom in too much. Sometimes it is nice to get a big overview of a... This here's the reading and writing room. Yeah, so the star of the day, for me at least, really is the ship itself. I'm going to try and talk about the ship as I go through. I am in no means an expert. There's a lot that I don't know, but there's also a lot that I do know. So I'm going to try and give some insight into the things that we see as we explore. This here is, of course, the reading and writing room. Quite famed room, very underutilized in the ship itself. It was intended for the ladies as an alternative to the lounge right next door. And since it's just situated directly next to the lounge, there's like no bookshelf in here or anything, it really didn't see much use. It was very unpopular. I love the view up here, the forward funnel. So yeah, these windows, the lower windows are on A deck, the Promenade, but the upper windows are looking out onto the boat deck above. So that creates a very interesting effect where like the uppermost portions of the windows are much brighter than the lower portion. This room, I know it was very underutilized on board. Just iconic. It's beautiful. So not to like, really a shame that it was so unpopular. It deserved better. I think it's mainly a product of its placement. It's in a very weird position. It's being right next to the lounge. So it just never really got the use it deserved. Yes, so from the previous demo, the curtains are definitely improved. They are much better. If you can recall, they were horrible. The previous demo, I'll just be the first to say it. And then the lighting overall, everywhere. I'm just going to keep mentioning it today, I'm sure, but especially in here, that's just so photogenic and beautiful. named after the riot. Yes, if you played previous years of Titanic Voyage, this room has a particular history. Um, for the people who know what I'm talking about, I imagine that this table is the table around which everything occurred. Like this vantage point here, you know, and then kind of snaking around as the crowd comes up and then fleeing through the door. That's my interpretation of the riot. Here we have the lounge that I was just... A very contentious room lately, I have found. I'm so back and forth on this room. I love the walls and like the wooden carvings are just beautiful. The windows are also really gorgeous. These bay windows here. You have a seat here and have such a phenomenal view. The ocean and the little stained glass portions up there where the deck is, letting in some daylight from above. This raised roof. It's really a great room, but then you look down and you see this furniture. And to some also this carpet. And suddenly it's all disappeared. All my love for the room just dissipates. So sad. What were they thinking? If this design is accurate. I've typically seen this room portrayed with, I think, like brown chairs and a more brownish carpet. It's still a visually stunning space. Now, my opinion, furniture here is quite well. Like angles like this, and is this cool? But I don't know. Of course, it has this chandelier up here. It would be turned on at night, making the center of this room quite bright. It's off right now, though. Yeah, the nooks are always... I agree, the nooks are the best part of the room for me. From a perspective like this, it's honestly not that bad. Just when I turn and look the other way, the problems really start for me. I really hope that they find that the furniture was not this color combination. It's really not doing it any favors for me. But, yeah, this is the first class lounge. Quite a notorious room. One of those rooms you either love or you hate, I've noticed. Everyone seems to have quite strong opinions about this room. Echo again. The paneling, yeah, the paneling is stunning. There's no denying, I think, that the woodwork in this room is just incredible. And I know also that, in reality, a lot of it would have been individual carvings, too. So here, there's a lot of repeated carvings, but in actuality, I think every carving on the wall of this room would have been unique. Because they didn't just, like, crank these out in a factory or something. They actually made all of them by hand, and the artisans who did so would have put little touches on it that made it unique to each individual one. So that's just crazy to imagine. It already looks stunning enough, but imagine if every single carving... Then you start to get a sense of why this room is so opulent. Fine, I guess. I'm catching up on the chat a little bit while I'm roaming around here. Ah, you had another browser. Okay, good. I was worried that I was echoing for some reason. Hello, Caitlin. Good to see you. We were talking about the horrible furniture of this room. Okay. We're gonna move on. There's a lot to see. We can't really linger in any one room for too long. Otherwise, the stream will be like 4 hours. Oh. Oh. So, the box. About this. So I do have the deck plans that Matt has made, which you could call... Or you could find, rather, on Titanic www.titanicdeckplan.com, I think. And the plans for this room refer to these things as candy cabinets. What that is exactly, I don't know. But that's what the plan refers to them as, candy cabinets. Go figure. Would they literally just fill it with candy for people to come up and take? Kind of a cool concept if so, but it seems like rather high up for that. You'd have to really reach for that upper layer. I don't know. Kind of interesting though, one of those things you don't know that much. The store leads out onto the Promenade, of course, but we're not going to go out there yet. Hello, Francis. Getting toward the best part of first class right now. Of course, Thomas Andrews' cabin. I think still missing a lot of detail, but it's a bit better than before. Lighting certainly improved. High-ups of the children don't grab any. You know what? You might have a point. Steward would bring candy to a passenger, then the passenger would pay the steward. That's interesting. That actually might make sense. I'd still be curious why they don't just store it in the pantry, but I guess it might be because they're advertising it there almost, so that people see that and, you know, get the craving. Ooh, a chocolate bar sounds. This is A37, Francis Brown's cabin. Camera's still sitting here. Smoking room. There in a moment. Yeah, the aft grand staircase doesn't get as much fanfare as the forward grand staircase, but this A-deck landing is still quite lovely. Beautiful lighting. Here we have the smoking room. It's certainly opulent. However, I will say I don't think I would have enjoyed any of the time I would spend in this room. It's almost too extravagant for my liking. I would not have just been able to sit back and relax. And of course, you've got all the beautiful stained glass windows. And just like with a lot of the other A-deck public rooms, you have the upper portion there. Looks out onto the boat deck, so you notice, especially on this side, where we're not in direct sunlight, you notice the difference in lighting. It's much brighter through the upper windows, whereas the lower ones are a bit less bright. So much direct sun. Spinning bucket? Yeah, there's tunes, I think. Almost every table... Not every table, a lot of the tables have spit into. You have chewing tobacco, I think. I'm not a smoker. I've never touched any cigarettes in my life. The window by the door next to the bar. Ah, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Francis. This spot. This table here. Yeah, this is my favorite table too. You get such a great view of the room from this table. Just really a visually stunning room. Again, I never would have been able to relax in this place, but just got to love the stained glass. And a fun fact about the stained glass in the middle of the room, you might notice that it's actually kind of bright. And if you really look, you can see there's a space behind the stained glass. A space that we'll reference again in a little bit, but there's light coming down from the boat deck up above that filters into this central shaft and kind of illuminates these center stained glass windows. So they're not just dark voids, they actually have a bit of daylight coming from above. I really love these bay windows. This side of the room especially, where it's not so bright. Very atmospheric. Of course, you've got the famous fireplace, the only fireplace that would actually burn real flames of the ship. I think it was coal burning. These were little cabinets filled with some coal. You'd take the coal out and put it in the fire and light it, and actual fire. I believe this picture, I forget, I always get them mixed up. This is either, I think this one's called Plymouth Harbor. I know, I think on Olympic it was Approach to the New World or something. Or is this Approach to the New World? I should know this. I like these little couches around the fireplace. Very cozy. Yeah, the tiles on the ground are an unfortunate choice. It's kind of, ugh, I can't even look at that long. It's a running theme, I think, for me with Titanic, is beautiful rooms, horrible floors. And also sometimes horrible furniture. I do know on Olympic, eventually the floor, I think, was replaced with something that I think was better. I also do like this view from another great view of this room. So back here we actually have something a bit new. Not in a previous demo, we'll go in there in a moment. We're just going to take a quick peek though into this home port side. This one would have actually been smoking friendly. Since it's directly attached to the smoking room, you really can't do anything. Nightlight, hello nightlight. So yeah, smoking friendly home court. Home courts are just lovely. I really like the aesthetic of these rooms. Windows looking out on the Seadeck Promenade, being able to actually see the ocean through them now too, with the updates to this demo, is spectacular. Before you really couldn't see the ocean from the windows in here, but now you can, and it's just, finally makes the room really click with the way it was intended. Beautiful little space. We will not linger for too long. Back through the vestibule into here. Across to the other side, where we will enter through a door that would have been for the stewards who serve the people in this room. That leads to the smoke room, bar, and pantry. This here would be the pantry. Like, I think a coffee thing there, probably hot coffee that you could serve passengers. Some light pastry. Basic storage space, but shelves. Then in here you have the smoke room bar, which has all of the alcoholic beverage stores. I believe this here is, in fact, is the alcohol cabinet, which is always locked under key. There's a specific steward who has the key to unlock that, although there are just some wine bottles sitting out in the open here. I don't know how accurate that is. They didn't ever want anyone to just walk in and take alcohol. Who knows? Got a bunch of china plates. Safe down here, which you store money in, because the passengers sometimes settle right then and there. And this window here, the serving window, looks out into the palm court we were just in. So this would service both the smoking room through here and the palm court through here, as well as through this door, the starboard palm, which was the significantly less utilized version. In fact, I think this was mainly used as a children's playroom because it just was not that popular with passengers. Only accessible for passengers through this door here. There was no connection to the inside of the ship. Give me a moment, catching up on that. Yeah, the plates have the White Star flag. They actually do in real life too. This is the wisteria china pattern that was used throughout first class. And I, in fact, have teacups with this pattern, so it's kind of interesting to see them here in the game. In fact, I think it's exactly this kind of cup right here that I have. Lovely space. Another fun thing about this space, it's actually got natural lighting in it. Up, there's two little windows, tiny porthole up above. Just keep those in mind, we'll see those again soon. Yes, we actually did render this room ourselves many, many years ago. Francis worked on it, and you know what? It was quite close to what's here, so we've been able to see and enjoy that space in Titanic Voyage for many years now. Kind of interesting to finally walk into it in this demo. Alright. Moving on. Already been 30 minutes and we've only gotten through a deck. This is gonna be a bit of a stream, I think. Restaurant reception room. I am very indifferent about this space. I like this angle here, I think. Yeah, I'm very indifferent about this space. I don't know. This is where passengers would have reception before dinner in the a la carte. And it's certainly unique having the staircase in the center here, I guess. But it's quite a small room, especially compared to D-deck reception. I don't know. It's not bad, it's just not my favorite. The orchestra would play in here, however. The trio, I think? I forget what they're called. I don't know orchestral terms. An ominously dark corner, yeah. Someone tell the steward to turn on the lights. Second class passengers were not allowed on this portion of B deck. They are, however, allowed on B deck. We'll show that off. But they have a section of B deck of their own that's actually right on the other side of the cafe here. Through those doors. I guess we can walk around the cafe. I don't care about restaurant reception enough. But this here is the Cafe Parisian, which has gotten quite the upgrade. The trellis is now pastel green? Teal? I honestly don't know. It looks, again, like a trick of the light. It looks teal on this side, but on this side it kind of looks green. I think it just depends on how the sunlight catches it. But either way, it gives this room some extra color and really makes the vine work, the fake ivy pop. Also, try and get back here, the sun rays. You can see there's rays of sunlight coming in through these windows. They are just beautiful. Sometimes it's hard to see them. You have to hit the light caught just right, but like see them especially from here. Man, that's just pretty. Second, I have to plug my mouse in. Battery's getting low. I've done that before the stream, but oops. Be a stream without something going wrong. Okay. So yeah, the Parisian. Honestly, it's always been one of my favorite rooms, but it might even be in my top 3 favorite now. It's just beautiful. A photo be positioned. I have a picture that I like to take that would be like right up against this window, but I can't go there. There's no free camera yet. But you can kind of get a sense. It's a great room. I love it. Oh, I also like this angle. I found so many photogenic angles of this room. Kinda cool if you just look straight down the center like this. It's such a great space. Will they do when the game is completed? We will talk about the current state of Titanic Honor and Glory whenever I find one of the Project 401 posters. Oh, so yeah, this to preface, this is the restaurant, and people are going to be arguing over the carpet. Here we go. So on this side of the room, the carpet is kind of pinkish to me. Beautiful restaurant as always. Here, the carpet looks kind of purplish to me. But then if you look at it in the shadows, it's red, almost. Like a pinkish red. So let the debates begin. What color is this carpet? As people debate that in the comments, I'm gonna enjoy this beautiful... Look at this corner. Like, look, this is so clearly pinkish red. In this back corner that's only really lit up by the wall lights. Gotta love some of the finer detail in rooms like this, though. What a beautiful room. Yeah, honestly, my favorite, the dining locations on the entire ship. Show off the second class dining room? Oh yeah, don't worry, we'll get to second class. I will show off the dining room for sure. Let's go insist. Yeah. That's what I mean. It depends. It depends. But the carpet color changes. Here it looks very dark purple. But there's so many different carpet colors in this room. Depends on where you are. Room though. Who wouldn't want to eat in here? Closer at the flowers. Yeah. I'm kind of the same. Elijah mentions this room. You could really just imagine this room being filled with life, and I can too. As I walk through it, I can imagine everyone eating and all the waiters, service staff going around, like this bar counter here, having people eat, the cashier be working back here, and be some restaurant manager here taking people in. I don't know, when I look at this room, even this in this empty state, I just see how vibrant and lively it is. Beautiful room. Can't linger for too long, unfortunately, but again, you could all download this demo and explore it for free yourselves. See anything you want and as much detail. Okay, we're gonna go forward along B deck now. I guess we're doing first class first. I didn't really intend for it to be that way, but that's just how this is panning out, sorry. Oh, yeah, I think I mentioned it, but there would have been a trio. I don't know if a trio is right, but the band would have played here around dinner time, and I think for tea in the afternoon. So there would have been relaxing music being played. Reservation seat, Miss Martle. I love Miss Martle. Every couple years in Titanic Voyage, I play restaurant staff, and it's always a blast. Oh, this is a cabin B81. Sorry, I don't know the styles well enough to say what style this is. I'm sure someone will comment style this is. This is our first of the first class suites. They're spectacular in their own right. Kind of curious to me because this room is lacking a lot of the extra amenities a lot of the suites have. It doesn't have a couch, only got like one chair. I suppose you have a nice little table you could pull up alongside. But in terms of the handling of the room itself, quite gorgeous. The blanket looks like a book. If you look at historical photos, the blankets did look like that. I don't think they look that comfy, honestly. Move along to the next set of cabins. Are these up here? It'll be B63, 59, and 57. They're all interconnected. This is maybe my favorite of the styled cabins so far. Don't know what it is about it. I like it. I believe this one was called Modern Dutch. I may be wrong. Stained glass in your cabin too. How luxurious is that? This one here, I don't know the name of the style, but this is weird. Like the more I look at this room closely, the weirder it gets. So, just at face value, it looks fine. It's another cabin. It's beautiful. You've got this wonderful bed here, double bed. You've got a nice bed here. You've got the stained glass, of course. Quite a lovely style. But then I start to notice the faces in this room. They are all over. Once you see them, you'll never unsee them. They're kind of in low poly, so they're missing a lot of detail, I'm sure, but above the doors here are moldings of faces. On this side too. And then along each of these elegantly carved out little, I don't know what they're called, columns in between the panels. At the very top, there's another facial carving on every single one throughout the whole room. And then on this lovely little washstand and dresser here, there's also faces at the very top of it too. So I don't know what it is, but this room style just kind of creeps me out now. There's so many faces in the room looking at you at all times. Even above like the wardrobe door here. Kind of creepy to me. Moving on. This one is... I don't know the style name. It looks like the modern Dutch to me, but I think it has a different name. No, you can't see anything in the mirrors. They're just like reflecting the room itself a bit. He does look like happy. Yeah, at least it's not like a creepy face. It just looks like a nice happy guy. But I don't know. It kind of weirds me out. I'm not gonna lie. The blue isn't bad. The blue's kind of cool, yeah. I don't like this one as much. I like the red better than the green. It's also, I know, I think this is oak wood paneling. And this in here is, I think, sycamore paneling. And this sycamore paneling is just a little lighter. I think it looks better. This. Variant of modern Dutch, yeah. So, trio of cabins. They could actually be connected like this. The doors between the cabins are there so that if a passenger wanted to make their own interconnected little suite of rooms, you could just open the doors up and you could potentially rent out multiple cabins. You could own like all of these 3 cabins could be yours. And if you were traveling with larger parties, you could do that to give everyone their own room, or maybe you wanted to use one of them as a sitting room if you're really rich, I don't know. That is that. Oh, there's a nice little detail here, which is the menu. They would give you the menu each day. You could order room service, probably. I suppose. You hate all the Dutch styles? That's reasonable. This would have been the Cardeza sitting room. Charlotte Cardeza being quite the character. I don't like the sitting room much, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of boring to me. Very plain. You got, of course, the private promenade. Always a classic. Again, the sun rays coming in through the windows really gives this place some extra life. Yeah, the red modern Dutch is the only one I like. All the other ones can go sink to the bottom of the ocean or something. I'm not the biggest fan of the private promenades on Titanic. I think they're a little too large. Would I ever really need this many chairs and this much space? I don't know. Like, Charlotte Cardeza, I think, had a party of, what, 4? Just imagine 4 people using all this. I guess it's for if you invite people over to your cabin to have a party or whatever. But, Cal flips the table. He actually flipped the table on the other side. This here is B53, Italian Renaissance style, I believe. Very weird. I don't know what it is about the wood in this room, but the grains just range. It definitely is unique, I'll give it that. Why do you need so many chairs? Cal is on a mission to flip all the chairs. You don't need that many chairs, Dan. View there through the window onto the private promenade. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's not bad. I don't hate this room. I at first saw it and I was like, what even is this? The more I look around it, the more I kind of start to like it. But it looks dirty. It looks dirty. But it's also just very unique and cool. I'm a fan. It's cooler than just a lot of the plain wood you see throughout the ship. Very unique and individual grains in them. I like it a lot. Side we have another private promenade. This one would have been Ismay's private promenade. Sadly, no cabins for Ismay. Lovely little private promenade that I, again, much too long. I do know, however, that Ismay hosted games of bridge, and I wonder if they played them out on the private promenade, or if they stuck to his sitting room. Here we have B58. I know I said the modern Dutch might be my favorite cabin, but then I always come back in here and feel like this actually might be my favorite cabin. Love that state. Yeah, the Britannic promenades were a lot better. If you don't know, they were significantly smaller but more opulent. Yeah, this is my favorite cabin. Fabric on the walls, yeah, we can just look at that. Beautiful. Photogenic view of... It's great. I love it. Go down to Seadeck. I don't think Olympic had private promenade, did it? Because B-Deck wasn't... B-Deck was its own open promenade. So here we have the purser's office and inquiry office, and we can finally go in. This has been missing from previous demos, but now it's here. This is where the purser's assistants would have worked. And the purser himself, I think. You've got the money, a safe filled with money down here, and then the big safe that would have held the passengers' valuables over here. Huh. There's a bottle of wine here. I think someone's been working a little too hard, perhaps. Serving window, I guess? Not really a serving window, you wouldn't serve anything through it, but you would speak with the purser or his assistants through that, I suppose, if you had a matter to speak with them directly about. Deposit your letters through here. And then they would fall into a letterbox under here, where they could then be taken out and sorted here, picked up by the postal staff later. Stuff in here. Here's one of the Project 401 posters. We'll look at that in a moment. Yeah, I would love to play a character who works in this office now that it's actually here. There are some funny little Easter eggs in this room, by the way, if you zoom in on some of the paper. This here talking about potatoes. Too many potatoes. Never be more than 3 potatoes in any one place. There's an entire room on this ship with 40 tons. Yes, we seem to be missing 50 potatoes. We find those 50 potatoes. Where's there? Notes. I have no notes. A mood of its own right there. Reminder, find Owener. It's misspelled, which I love. Find Owener of cufflink found in reception. That's a Adventure Out of Time reference. Neptune Captain's degree. So this is the first Project 401 poster I've seen. I was going to talk about it when I saw it. If you didn't know, this demo we're playing now is effectively a demo for Project 401. What is Project 401? It's going to be a more completed version of this demo, a more well-realized game with extra features that will be released on Steam. What kind of features might those be? Lists them here. It's going to have virtual reality headset support, nighttime and sunset mode. Sunset I am most excited about. In-game deck plan so you can see where you are without having to reference external sources. Controller support. Sound design. If you've noticed, I'm playing music in the background because there's really not many sounds in the demo right now. Project 401 will have that, however. It will also feature some different historical features like White Star Line testimony, SS particulars, I don't know what that is, and Queen's Island photographs. For the most part, if you remember and have followed the project for a while, these are the features that were promised for the alpha, so it would be you walk around with a logbook and fill it in with knowledge on the rooms and testimony. You find little collectible items and stuff like that, so it's going to be more of a game than the demo is. So there's that to look forward to. And then Titanic Honor and Glory itself is kind of being re-examined as a almost museum experience, meticulously recreating the ship itself. Here is a map of everything that's in the demo, which just reminds me of how much farther I still have to actually go, since we have just done A deck and some of B deck so far. So let's get moving. Wait, phone. There's several phones like this that connected to a system that I believe could be used to dial up other crew phones across the ship for just ease of communication. I think there's one on the bridge too. Oh man, I'm only to Seadeck first class. It's been like an hour. This is, of course, the Strauss sitting room. Probably the most famous cabin theme of all because it was used for the movie for Rose's room, even though she had a B-deck cabin. I think it's the Regency style. This here is an Empire style cabin. I at least know these two styles. Also shows off some of the bathrooms that you would get between cabins in first class suites. At least you would get yourself a nice little toilet and tub, and the way it worked is you would actually share a bathroom with the cabin adjacent to you, and when you would walk in you could come and lock this door so no one walks in on you, and then you could use your bathroom and then come back and unlock this door. Or maybe it were these doors you locked, actually. I don't know. No, it had to be these, because I actually don't know. I've never thought about it before, but you couldn't just have this door open, or else you could just barge into someone else's cabin. This would almost have to be locked until you went to enter it. So I bet you that it were these doors you could lock once you shut them. You could come in here to use the toilet, shut this door, and lock it. Similar, you could come in here to use the bath and shut this door and lock it. And then when you go back into your cabin, you could just lock the door so no one barges into your room. I bet that's how it worked. This here is a wardrobe you can kind of peek into a little bit. I'm gonna move on. If I'm completely wrong about how those bathrooms work, someone correct me. I'm probably wrong. We've got a couple inner Seadeck cabins weren't here before. Plain first class rooms. Here into a couple of them, but they're all basically the same. Don't get me wrong, not bad. Traveling in style, I guess. Not as cool as the suites, though. A few more here. It's fairly spacious, all things considered. There's a cabin over here. D70. I believe this was Jack Thayer's cabin, if I am not mistaken. So, beautiful room. Kind of weird furniture layout where you've got the two beds side by side, and then this section with the tables and this Hayes lounge or whatever it is. Writing desk up against the wall here. What bothers me a lot, and once I point this out, you're never gonna unsee it in this room. The portholes aren't centered. You look, the porthole is centered like here, but the window is centered here. So it's misaligned, and it just drives my OCD crazy. They're both misaligned. Why would you do this? But yeah, these are, so I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but the stained glass windows, you could take this whole panel and I think either it like gets pulled down into the frame itself, or it opens outward. I think it goes down into the frame. It slides up and down, I believe. And then you could open up the porthole or the window. In fact, these windows are interesting, and I'm going to take a brief delay. I don't think it's inaccurate. I think that's just how the Seadeck cabins work in some places. It's really unfortunate. These windows on Seadeck, I didn't know this before, but they're actually quite interesting. So they don't open like normal portholes where you just swing them in or out. They revolve like this. And the reason they do this is because you can actually angle these to catch the wind better. So these stick outward a bit, and the portion that's outside of the ship, sticking out of the window, you can see some of it's inside, some of it's outside. Yeah, there we go, that's a good view of it. So the portion that's outside of the ship can be angled to better catch the breeze, whichever direction the wind is coming in, and then kind of funnel it in almost like a fan effect into the room. So that was for better ventilation. Not just to look cool. Special kind of port. I believe almost all of those Seadeck portholes, at least the midship ones, like that. Yeah, so, okay, if we look at the, since people are still talking about the porthole being misaligned, if you look at the cabin and the plans here, if you imagine where the portholes themselves are, they follow a very particular pattern on the outside of the ship. And it just so happens that in C70, the portholes would be aligned a little bit to the left. In C72, I think they're centered. And then in C74, they're misaligned a little to the right. So the portholes themselves are an equal distance across the whole way through. But the room's sizes themselves just result in slight misalignments with the stained glass. Is how I think it works. Because I was just seeing that and I had to know why it's like that. It bothered me so much. Here's the rather famous cabin, C73. Again, if you played Adventure Out of Time, be quite familiar with this room. This is your cabin in Adventure Out of Time. In fact, here's your trunk from Adventure Out of Time too. Got the little phonograph there, you've got your decoder, got your secret plans from the Admiralty. All of it. Here's the sink where you fetch, or no, you fetch the watch from here, don't you? From this little table. And then I forget where you pick up the bag. Is the bag on this, maybe? I need to replay the game. But yes, this is C73. This is the actual style that it would have been in. In the game, it was a different style. But it's very cool to finally be able to walk into that room. So this here is the Postal Office and Marconi Office. This is where the postal clerks would have dined and the Marconi workers. It's gotten some pretty big improvements from the previous versions of the demo. It's got some artwork hanging up now. Nice picture of King George V that they would have hung up in many of the crew spaces. I believe that's Mr. Marconi himself, perhaps? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And then through here, we have the Maids and Ballet Saloon. This also has gotten a significant improvement. It actually features a wholly unique style. I don't know what the name of this style is, but before it was just paneled white walls like this, but now it's actually got its own style. That was Mr. Marconi back then? Okay, I thought so. I think I didn't really mention rooms 4. This is where the maids and valets would have their meals. So obviously, you don't want the manservants or the maids eating with the passengers in the saloon, typically. They would instead come to this room and have their meals, and it's quite nicely furnished. They were treated pretty well too. You've got this pantry back here that would serve them. This is where a lot of their meal prep would be completed, and then you off to them through the serving window. These stairs here, trust me, there are stairs there. I can actually just show it. These stairs here on the other side of the pantry go down to here where you have the first class pantry and the galleys. So they would prepare the meals in here, then just a short walk up the stairs into here, and then you would take the food out to the people who eat it. So they would get served, I think, the same kind of food you get served in the first class saloon, even though they eat in a different place. So it's not like they were treated any less well than first class passengers. Are the stairs playable? I don't know. Maybe. I honestly forget every room that we have. This is the aft grand staircase, of course, the Seadeck level. Lovely view toward the dome. Moving further aft, we have a couple extra new additions. I'm just going to take a very quick peek into the hospital down here. It's not that exciting, but I know people want to see a certain room. This is the hospital corridor. The sick passengers, primarily from second and third class, would have been seen in rooms down here. First class passengers would have visited the doctor directly or had him visit their cabin. They would not really have used the hospital, except maybe if they got sick with something infectious, in which case there's an infectious hospital right back here, where they could kind of be isolated. And there's a certain padded cell here. It's always quite popular. This is where they would have thrown anyone who taken under arrest, I believe. So when Jack was arrested in the movie, I'm quite certain he would have been thrown into the padded cell in actuality. Now we've got some crew cabins through this little corridor here. But we're going to peek in here first. This is the doctor. I just mentioned that you would be seen typically in the doctor's room or in your cabin. If you were seen in the doctor's room, this is where you would have been seen. He's got a little office here. A couch where you could sit and be examined by the doctor. Or I guess where he could sit and enjoy himself when he's off duty. He's got a medicine drawer back here. And through this little curtained off section is where he would actually sleep. And there are windows looking out onto the second class promenade here. They don't let in much light, honestly. The positioning of them is kind of unfortunate. They practically have no effect on the room at all, in fact, but at least you get something of a view. Better than nothing. Further down the corridor, we've got more rooms. This is the assistant doctor's room. I believe the assistant doctor was mainly in charge of second and third class. The primary doctor was for first, but if ever needed, they would help one another. And I love the atmosphere in here. This room's only lit up by this desk lamp, and it just creates an almost ominous atmosphere. Again, you can really see what I mean about this open window doing very little light. Here we have the restaurant manager. This one's a little more well lit. It looks basically the same. That's where Gotti would have been. His room. Here we have the chief steward. This one has no lights on at all. Quite dark. He also has a phone though. It would have connected to that same system, the purser's office. So, for example, they might have needed the assistance of the chief steward for something, so then they could call him up in his room and request him. So that's what the phone system would have been used for. I've got to peek into C-142, one of my favorite little first-class closets. Even in first class, you had some really tiny rooms. Barbershop, nothing's really changed in here. I'm just gonna skip it. There if you want to see it in the demo. Now we reach a certain juncture. We could venture forward and see more of first class, or we can take an interesting path up to the boat deck. I think since we've been in first class now for over an hour, we're gonna take another path and explore some of different parts of the ship for a bit, and then come back to first class later. Finish it off with the reception room and everything beyond. So these crew-only doors here would go to a linen drying room, which we're going to enter. Yep. Smart'll always stayed in C. So, this was used by the restaurant up on B deck. You would store linen in these rooms here. Tablecloths. And there's a fan room here. In here, you have some more linen storage. I don't know exactly what these are. And then you've got a spiral staircase, and this spiral staircase is interesting. I can't go down, unfortunately, but if I could, it would lead down all the way to D deck, where it enters into the galley spaces. And it goes up this spiral staircase to B deck here. This leads into the restaurant galley. So they could come down this little spiral staircase, fetch whatever tablecloths or whatever they need, and just carry them up this short little staircase here to use them in the restaurant through this door without having to go through any passenger space. They could also go down to D deck if they ever needed to get anything from the galley stores, or the galley itself, down there. But the restaurant galley is primarily through this door here. Unfortunately, we can't enter, but it's there, trust me. And then they could go even farther up, all the way up top. Quite a long staircase. Can't really get a good look down, but this leads out onto the second class promenade. This, I think, was primarily used as an emergency exit, but they, when they were on their breaks, I believe that the restaurant staff were permitted to come up here to come out onto this promenade for a little bit of fresh air and maybe to enjoy a cigarette or two through that staircase there. So that's the restaurant spiral stairs. Which is really cool to have. I want to add that room into the game. And we are on the boat deck now. This is second class boat deck. Probably my my preferred section of the boat deck. I just think it's got the best views. You've got this amazing view looking forward, of course. And then looking aft, you've also got an incredible view of the stern of the ship. There's just so much to see here. I think I pointed out before, the the smoke room, bar, and pantry. Those two windows looking down into it, they're right here. You can even kind of see into the room. They're here a little bit. Side of the deck with the natural sunlight shining down directly onto it. Just the exterior looks so much better now than it ever did. I also had mentioned how you have light flowing in from the boat deck into the stained glass in the middle of the smoking room. That goes through this little light shaft here, and you can see some of the stained glass right there, in fact, at the bottom of it. Got smoke coming out the funnels now too, which is another new addition. It's just, it's so good. Yes, it is strange. You do have second class looking down on first class, which is quite uncommon. Typically, first class has the highest points of the boat deck, and they look down on the others. But not here. So we're gonna go ahead and enter some second class now, I think. Nice little change of pace. The boat deck landing stairs. I always love the way that it spirals down around the elevator in the middle. And you also get some really cool views as you're walking down of the funnel. See it basically the whole way up from the A deck landing, in fact, the base of the funnel there. really interesting vantage point. And I love the sunlight streaming in through these windows. Gorgeous. It's a very interesting effect. I don't think there's many places like this on the ship where you've got such large windows shining down onto a landing like this from above. There's a couple spaces, but not many. This is a frosted glass window looking into a fan room. It's mainly there just to allow a little bit more daylight to get into the A deck landing. And we move down to B deck. So it's a second class B deck. Sure, it's not as grand as the grand staircase, but I still like the second class stairs. Quite charming in their own right. And they lead directly here into the second class smoking room. I don't have a lot to say about this. I really like this room. I think it's gorgeous now. You've got these couches in the center here you can sit on. Got these really large windows that just let in so much daylight. Yeah, the linoleum pattern of this room I know has been a bit contentious. It's something. At least it matches up with the chairs and doesn't clash horribly with the design of the room like the first class smoking room linoleum tiles do. Can't linger too long. Beautiful room. So the front side connects to the B deck staircase directly. The aft door leads out onto the boat deck. Yeah, it's like one of the few rooms where there's no clash against the floor and chair. So you have these massive windows looking in. I love this little passageway that goes around the aft stairs here. So this is the B deck second class base of the ship. Now someone was asking about second class B deck before. This is where they would have been. Got a nice view looking up, nice view looking back. Second class has the best boat deck. I'm convinced. You've got a bit of an enclosed section here in case you're ever in bad weather. Beautiful views. You've got deck chairs, of course. We'll peek into the aft stairs in a moment. Go to the other side though, where the natural daylight is shining in. See, it's a bit better lit over. Looks gorgeous. We'll get to crew spaces. We will get there soon enough, actually. This door here leads to the Café Parisian. I had mentioned before that on the other side of that door was a second class space. This is where that is. Very cool to see how everything interconnects. And back there you have the well deck. We'll be there very soon. This is the B deck second class stairs, aft. There were actually two second class staircases. I know that surprises some people. They tend to think there was just... No, there were two. And again, they have that theme of the windows hanging above, letting light shine in. It's an interesting choice, rather than having a dome to just kind of let the natural daylight stream in from above like this. I almost wish the windows were bigger, though, to be honest. You've got those really big windows on the smoking room. Why not stick, like, one of those, or even two of those here? Imagine how much light that would let in, then. But this is still just a really pretty stair. You've got the main mast. coming through, going down 2 decks. Yeah, second class promenades could stand to be a little bit longer. I will give you that. I am fairly convinced that this aft Seadeck staircase landing was used as like the second class reception room for the dining saloon below, because you've got the piano here. The band was known to play right here near the piano, and this is very similar to the reception room in B deck and D deck, honestly, first class, where you have a piano in the D deck reception and then a spot for the band to play in the B deck reception room right outside of where you would enter the respective saloons. And here I think you would come to this level of the staircase, socialize a bit, perhaps sit in the chairs and socialize while the band is playing, and then you would walk down one flight of stairs into the saloon through these big massive double doors. So I'm fairly convinced that this is like second class's version of the reception. And I just haven't seen any documented evidence of that, really, but I'm convinced. So here we have the unfortunate entrance to the library, situated behind the mast. It's one of those unfortunate decisions that you just look at it now and ask why. But here we have the library, my favorite room on the entire ship. This would have been the equivalent of the first class lounge for second class. I love the sycamore wall paneling. It's very light. Like, if you look at it in just the right lighting, it almost makes these columns look white, which Lawrence Beasley, a second class passenger who famously wrote an account of his time in second class on board, described the columns of the room as being, I believe, fluted white columns. And I never understood why until I saw this. Now I can kind of see it. They look like they're white. And I'm sure as he was thinking back on his time spent in the room, predominantly those columns do look white. A very light colored wall that you don't really get in any other public room on board. So of course this is the library for second class. You have things like games that would be stored in the bottom parts of this bookshelf here in the middle. Obviously this is a bookshelf, you've got books. The stewards would serve drinks and tea in here, or little pastries to passengers between meals to help tide them over. I love this perspective over here. Forward like that. So, it's my favorite room. I would love to spend like all day in here, but we gotta keep moving on. So you do have these windows though in the staircase that look into there. This is the forward Seadeck staircase. Technically the main entrance when you're boarding the ship. We do it from this side. When you're boarding the ship in Southampton, you'd come in through this enclosed promenade, which second class also has an enclosed promenade. It's nice so they can still use a promenade even in bad weather, and also just look at the sun rays coming in. That's beautiful. But you would come in through these doors here. And you would enter, and then you would turn to the right and be led into these double doors, and then this would be the second class entrance that you would enter into. That's why there's so much just empty space here. This was less intended to be a room that you linger around in, and more just a room you pass through on your way into the ship. here we have the second class elevator. And a single elevator that runs from F deck to the boat deck. The only elevator that goes to the boat deck, actually. And then down these stairs we hit D deck, where we will enter the second class saloon. So again, more evidence to the fact that I think that one Seadeck landing was used as a reception room is that this room here, these entrances are just so... they almost seem like an afterthought. Single doors on either side that just lead in. It's not really a grand entrance at all, you know? But if you come over here, imagine strolling down these stairs around this open well in the center. Strolling down through these massive double doors and entering, you've got this piano in front of you. You've got this full breadth of the room all around you, and you'd see just all the tables, you'd see everyone seated out eating. It's really something else. That's definitely the intended main entrance to this room. And in terms of the design of the second class, it's my favorite of the standard saloons. We'll see the other two here in a bit. I just love the natural colored. Other ones are either painted white or they're just bare steel. Don't really do it for this. Gorgeous. Very photogenic. And of course you've got the daylight on the other side that gives this side a tense. I almost prefer the darker side of this room. Yes, there are pineapples here. I believe it was fairly common back then to use things like decorative pineapples. Ah, that's a good question. Why are there chairs between tables? The second class was designed such that it could accommodate more passengers, if need be. It's a very flexible class. There are certain cabins that are designated either first or third class rooms, but if second class is overbooked, you could switch them over to be second class rooms. And in that case, second class would be considered overbooked, and you would extend the tables here with leaves to create additional seating capacity. I forget exactly how many extra seats it allows for. Like 8 in this row. That would basically just enable you to seat more people during meal service. There's some simple table extension. I love this. Boom. See the Master at Arms cabin? I did. We will get there soon. Going to go down the level. This is E deck. This would have been the second class purser's office here. Sadly, we can't go inside of it, but they would have tended to the passengers in a way very similar to the first class purser's office. Stairs go down to F deck. And I, of course, have to look up the well. Always one of my favorite views in second class here. All the way up the stairs to the top. Second class passenger corridors. I'm not going to spend much time on stuff like that, honestly. We'll show off briefly the E-deck stairs, as well as the E-deck entrance, which would have been used when boarding, I think, in Cherbourg or Queenstown. The tenders would have pulled up alongside the ship, this gangway, gangplank, I think actually, sorry, would have been brought down and extended out to the tender, and then the passengers would walk up and board through these doors. And we are going to go through these double doors here into third class. Now the third class level is quite interesting. It's actually going to give us our first look at some cruise spaces as well. This here would be the third class entrance. They would board through here, I believe, only from the tenders in Queenstown and Cherbourg. In Southampton, I actually think they would have entered through the second class entrance and just been led across into here, if I am not mistaken, because they boarded the ship from the starboard side in Southampton, again, if I'm not mistaken, not the port side here. So we are in Scotland Road, very long third class corridor. It's also got some cruise spaces. Let's head aft a bit. Get through aft third class real quick. Here we've got a cargo hatch that's looking down on second class G deck. And it goes all the way up to the aft whale deck up above. The cargo hatch is currently opened. I don't believe it would actually have been opened while the ship was moving at sea, unless it was a very hot day, or it might have been open to let extra ventilation in. The other cargo hatch, and this is the E deck third class stairs. There's some interesting things to see here. The stairs themselves, of course, very different than the first class stairs, especially, and the second class stairs, much more plain, as third class typically is. But what I think is really interesting about this part of the ship is these very, very bent portions of the exterior. We are deep in the stern now, and here the ship itself just bends around as it needs. And I always just imagine what the cabins in here must look like, because on the other side of this door is a cabin, and it has a wall just like this on the cabin. And I just cannot imagine a third class passenger staying in that cabin, not like trying to climb up this and look out the porthole, because I would do that. But it's really cool because if you look at each individual hull, you can see the bend get slightly lessened with each one as the ship folds into a more upright structure. We also have a third class cabin here. This is probably one of the smallest cabins you could have had on the ship. It is literally 2 beds and a sink, and not even enough room for you to keep a trunk. Sometimes, literally travel to the New World with the clothes on your back and nothing else. If you did, you probably were in a room like this. I also love how the top of the room doesn't even go up to the ceiling, it's just open. All of these cabins are actually opened at the top. So you can just imagine the noise between all these rooms. There's no such thing as privacy here. Yeah, I want a replica of that blanket. Not gonna lie. So, the stairs would go down into G deck. No, that's F deck. F deck and then G deck, but we can't actually go any lower. This is the lowest it will let us go. There is a pantry we can peer into here. It would have served the third class passengers. Kind of interesting to imagine, though. Everyone always thinks about how rough third class passengers had it, yet they have a pantry and they could have ordered stuff for their rooms from this pantry. I also believe this pantry may have been used to service these rooms up above. Kind of inconvenient perhaps since it's 2 floors down, but right here is the third-class general room, which is basically the third-class version of the lounge. I really love the design of this room. It's so unique to see because you've got this beautiful white paneling on the walls. You've got these contrasting brown panels down below. Then at the very top, you've just got bare steel. So it's like they took the extra level of effort to make the room look nice. But still, you can see that third-class experience, just the barren steel of the ceilings. They also have a piano, which is something of a luxury. Third class, typically, were not given any form of entertainment on board. They were just given rooms and left to make their own entertainment. They might, if they're lucky, be served drinks or food like they are here. But for the most part, aside from perhaps just getting drunk every day, there's really nothing to do. Well, here's a piano, and just imagine the luxury of that, of people just sitting down and playing the piano each day, and given this crowd who didn't typically have any orchestral performances or anything, some kind of music. That's quite luxurious in its own right. And then on the opposite side, of course, we've got the smoking room. This room is very smoke-filled right now, which is cool, that added effect. This one is a natural wood panel with contrasting darker brown at the bottom, and of course, barren steel ceilings. So you'll know you're in third class even though it looks pretty. I love the effect of the portholes too. So, again, the portholes, these ones wouldn't fold out like those Seadeck ones we looked at earlier. These ones just open inward. So they can't catch the wind quite so well, probably, especially with the ship being angled. And if you look at the floor here, you can see it's angled away from the front of the ship. So the ship's moving forward, but the wind's not really going to catch these windows that well. So they have these front-facing windows that you could open up, and as you could probably imagine, the breeze coming through those would be quite strong because the ship is moving forwards this way, and there's quite a strong breeze moving aft this way, and it would just go right through these windows into the room. So little considerations like that for the class passengers, give them proper ventilation. Again, just shows some of the ways that Titanic went above and beyond for these people. I know that it's always said that White Star prided themselves with how well they treated their third class. So here we are on the aft well deck. It's more of the boat deck. It's beautiful. I don't know what else to really say about it. This is space we have explored previously in the earlier iterations of the demo. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the enhanced lighting, especially. And also the fact that there is a flag back here now on the flagpole, blowing in the wind. Gives it extra character that wasn't there previously. Of course, you've got the docking bridge up here. I love the view looking back this way. That right there, basically. That's just such a cool view. The docking bridge, of course, would have been used when the ship was docking, as the name explains. They would have communicated with the tugs from there and maneuvered the ship into port or out of port. There's the second-class boat deck we were on earlier. Some first-class boat deck above, and the second class boat deck with the staircase all the way up there. So, now we are going to go back down to Seadeck. I'm going to sip of my drink here. Not used to talking this much. It's already been nearly 2 hours. I knew this would be a long stream, but gotta get moving or else I'm gonna be here all day. So, heading heading forward to Seadeck through Scotland Road. We're now gonna get into some cruise spaces. Very interesting cruise spaces. So this here is the turbine engine case. Down below, all this massive machinery would be the turbine engine. And we can't really go all the way down into them, but we can kind of see them from above here. They are really cool. I am not an expert on machinery at all, so I may be completely wrong here. But the way this worked, I believe, is any steam excess not used by the main engines would get fed into this system, and this excess steam would then be pumped into the center propeller of the ship. And this turbine engine is what controls that center propeller. So just really cool to see a lot of it from up above like this. Some of the biggest pieces of machinery on the entire ship, like that pipe is massive. Looking up, you also have a very interesting view. The turbine engine casing runs up from the very bottom of the ship all the way up into funnel 4. And if I zoom in, you can kind of see some of the inner workings of the funnel up there. That space all the way up top, that's the interior of funnel 4. You can kind of see the point where this exhaust pipe starts to lean backwards with the funnel. Like, how cool is that to see? I can't climb up that high in this, but the entrance into funnel 4 would have been somewhere up above us in that box. And even though funnel 4 was a dummy funnel, it did ventilate both the turbine engine room below and the reciprocating engine room through this pipe here, as well as the smoke from the the coal burning fireplace in the first class smoking room. This is also in here a electrician's storeroom or something. I forget, carpenters maybe? So that is the turbine engine casing. Accessible through Seadeck, Scotland Road. Kind of funny to imagine too, third-class passengers walking by and just seeing through these grated doors the inner workings of the ship. Here we've got the engineers' mess, where the engineers would have had their meals. Again, there's a picture of the king. I'm telling you, he's all over the cruise spaces of the ship. The electrical store. Ah, so that's what this room here is. This is the electrical store. Gotcha. Cool. Here we have the reciprocating engine room. These are the main engines that drive the left and the right propeller. I guess it's port and starboard propellers. This is the uppermost layer of it, and we can't explore all of this room, but being able to see any of it is a real treat. Quite the cool space. So this right here leads up into funnel 4. So that's added ventilation through funnel 4, as I mentioned. Fans were repaired. Okay, so they would have repaired like fans or other electrical equipment in the store. That's pretty cool. Here we get to look up the engineer's skylight a bit. So the engineers have this massive engine room down below them that they work in, and then they can climb up all of these maze of catwalks all the way up top and out onto the engineer's promenade up above. They could then have a smoke break or something. In fact, their smoke room was all the way up there near the top of the engineer highlight shaft. Down into the engine room itself a bit more. Engine motion. And even though you can't explore too much of this place, can say is spectacular. All this machinery is so foreign to me, but it's so cool to see it in motion. All that much to say right now. I'm just enjoying the view. You can imagine how loud this space would have actually been. I'm very interested in Project 401 and hearing the sound design of this room. It's going to be loud and mechanical and look at this like maze of machinery. It's crazy. I love these spaces so much. They're so cool. And back up. Oh, these pipes are the steam pipes as well. We'll see them again when we go to the boiler rooms here shortly. They run, as you can see, from the forward sections all the way aft. And they would even run into turbine engine room like I showed, where they would then feed into these two, I don't even know what they are, these two things here, and then get rerouted into center propeller, I guess. Anyone doing boiler crew? Yes. Someone will definitely be playing the Firemen. Some other people down there this year. Someone may or may not be me. Who knows? You might see me down there. Here we have the third class saloon. For what it is, I think it's pretty. But it's definitely a choice. You just got barren steel walls, barely any paneling at all. Barren steel ceilings. Pipes everywhere. And you have to wonder why, because every other room, like all those rooms further aft, they were styled so nicely. Why not this one too? It does just leave you wondering. But all things considered, I don't think it's bad. You've got nice artwork throughout the room. Liven it up a little bit. And it's not completely devoid of paneling. There are some small segments, like this wall here, that have some kind of wooden panel. How dark it is here. Imagine eating right here. In this shadowy corner. I know that the intent is for Titanic Honor and Glory to all be one level, yes. Yeah, it's not a bad room. It's just not as good as the second or even first class saloon. Which like is to be expected, of course. It is the third class saloon. It's not gonna be better than those, but you just look at other ships and wonder why, because other ships have their third class saloons styled nicely enough. This here is a crew bunk. I believe this one was for second class stewards. Yeah, second class stewards would have stayed in here. Their quarters, of course, are much more simple. Very much just dormitories. You don't get any privacy in there. My favorite room, second class library. Especially now that it's been redone in this demo. Other very high candidates, the Cafe Parisian. I really do like the D-Deck reception room now too. This might honestly be my top 3 right there. Second class library, Cafe Parisian, D-Deck reception room. Oh, sorry, I didn't even talk about this room. This is just a steward's toilet, but there is something interesting in this room that we'll come back to in a little bit. Moving all the way forward. Again, we have the hatches open, which I believe they would have done on particularly hot days. I don't think you would have actually seen these open in motion on any of the days that Titanic was sailing. But it does liven up these kinds of plain corridors a bit, getting that daylight from above. Quite the view. This here is the Master at Arms room. Very tiny room. Here we've got a couch. There we've got 2 beds. Not all crew cabins were equal. Some of them were very small like this. Up above we've got the 3rd class open space. With the cargo hatches opened, it lets in a lot more light. And I love this view here. If you're on this side, you look up, move across, you see the sunlight just trickling in through the... Beautiful. Very well done with the design visually of this space. You've also got some of the open hatches here that let you see the bridge and some of the funnel. Give you a sense spatially of where we are on the ship right now. We're underneath the well deck. So yes, this open space, this is where it's basically an enclosed promenade, honestly, but it has some extra amenities. Got these nice tables and benches around the outer edges, so you can have a sit. Got a bar right through here, so you can have some alcohol ordered. Got a bunch of portholes as well that you could open up to ventilate the space, and since the angle of the room, it's starting to bend inwards in the bow, you can imagine that the wind would have been much more likely to blow in through these than in the aft room. I imagine this room would have been quite windy on a nice day. Got the base of the mast right here. And I believe our time in 3rd class is practically over now. Another view of the cargo hatch from below. The forward well deck does look out on, you can see it from here even some, the A-deck promenade right there. But it's always you're looking up at them. You're never looking into a 1st class space as the 3rd class passenger. and you are always reminded of your place in the world. So, our time in third class is at an end now, but there's a door right here that would be a crew-only door that leads us to some new, interesting stuff. We're going to go through this door into crew spaces situated underneath the bow. And what's interesting about these spaces is that the shape of the ship really starts to become apparent in here. As I go up the staircase, I'm going to pause near the top. You can really see here just how angled that floor is. I'm not angling the camera or anything. The floor itself is bending upward throughout this entire part of the ship. Like that in all of these rooms. That's the shear of the ship. This is one of the few spaces in the demo that actually has the shear of the ship modeled as it would have been, which is fascinating to see. How do I want to go through these spaces? We're going to peek in the galley first. The galley is a very fun room. This is where they would have cooked for the crew. Or more particularly for the firemen. And possibly the seamen as well, I believe. Yeah, for the seamen as well. Their meals would have been prepared in here. There's a nice skylight. I see the crow's nest up there. Through the skylight. We are underneath the forecastle deck right now. The forecastle. I never know how to say it. It's a galley. I love how foreign the equipment in here looks to us. You've got this, I think, like potato peeling cornhill machine here. I don't even know what these tanks hold. Probably hot water or something. Bunch of prep stations, sink to cook in. This oven is just massive and really cool. Yeah, there are a bunch of skylights throughout the deck. So, moving forward a bit. This in here is the... What is this? This room is the seaman's mess. I always get them mixed up. Yeah, this one's for the seamen. They would come in here, have their meals, not working out on the deck. Pretty plain room. Not as nice as some of the, like even the maids and valets saloon or the postal clerks saloon, for example. Not at all as nice as that, but for them, hey, the life that they lived. In here, through this door, kind of snaking around the staircase, we have the entrance to the mast. So the lookouts would come in here and climb up this massive ladder all the way up, and it would lead them to the crow's nest. And they would sit up here all day looking out for anything ahead of the ship. You've got to love the view from here. You can see first class, A deck and B deck promenade. You can see a little bit of the well deck. You can see the officers' promenade and the first class boat deck. Granted, they wouldn't have been looking behind themselves, like, at all, I think. Their focus would have always been forward. Here's the telephone that they call up the bridge on when they spot the iceberg. Here's the bell, of course, that they ring whenever they see anything in front of them. Up above is the rest of the mast. Can't imagine climbing on those ladders up high on the mast. No, thank you. I don't like heights in general. Forward of this, we have the windlass room. This is all of the machinery that would have run everything up on the forecastle above. All of the different capstans that are used to like anchor the ship. The anchors themselves, in fact. This controls all of that. And through a little hatch here, we also have a bit of a storeroom. There were a bunch of storerooms like this in the bow. In fact, you can glimpse down into some other ones. Can't actually go down. This would also lead to the forepeak tank through this ladder here. And if we go forward at this point, get to the very bow of the ship, albeit a little lower than Jack or Rose would have been. This here is the front of the ship, and you can see how it looks out into the ocean. This would have been used, this hole in the front, in various procedures with the anchor, using this winch shear. I think it's how they retrieved the anchor after they had dropped it or something. I'm no expert on these spaces, but it's still just very cool to see. The famous, Jack and Rose I'm flying thing happened right above this place here. And I think James had pointed this out in the stream yesterday. I thought it was quite interesting. The name Titanic on the side of the ship would have been plastered along right here on the other side of this wall. That's where the ship's nameplate would have been. I believe it was also on the other side too, maybe? A ventilation fan here that's for some reason gated away. Don't know why. Here we have a cargo hatch. Gonna get a closer look at that in a moment. Now we begin to maneuver our way down into the Firemen stairs. So they have spiral stairs that run from D deck to the bottom of the ship. And you gotta love that they have a nice little water fountain here so that after you walk up all of these massive stairs, you can come get a drink. Down we start to go. And these fireman spaces are situated around the cargo hatch. You can see cargo at the very bottom of this hatch. And up above the hatch itself. I'm gonna snake forward a bit into the trimmers' quarters. Trimmers being workers in the boiler rooms who maneuvered coal from the bunkers out to the stokers. Also just shifted coal around to keep the balance of the ship. We are in the chain locker right now. This is where the anchor chain rests. And typically, you would not ever come in this room, especially while the ship's at sea, I believe. You'd only really come in this room for the sake of maintenance. This holds the anchor chain. Anchor chain is massive, by the way. It runs upwards towards the boat deck through there. There are these tubes. I'll back it. Through these tubes here that run through all of these levels. Yeah, it's accessible through a hatch here that would have been closed at all times at sea. Because you never want to have someone in the chain room when the anchor is dropped. That would very quickly end your life. Chain lockers were actually quite dangerous rooms on board ships. Oh yeah, imagine also, this is your quarters. You're a trimmer. You stay in here, every time the ship drops anchor, you're just happily asleep, and then suddenly the ship drops its anchor, you would be woken up because it's right there. Yeah, imagine the sound. Venturing farther down, we're now on F deck. Here we've got some firemen quarters. Don't have much to say about these rooms, although I will point out these benches that are nice. A lot of the crew quarters would have featured benches like this. And with these benches, of course, you could just sit down and perhaps play cards or socialize. So when you're off duty, I imagine it would be quite lively in these spaces, to be honest. I think it's just like you get off work and then go sleep. You get off work and you go have some fun and then you sleep. Here's the F deck land or G deck landing and the cargo hatch, which typically you wouldn't have open like this to access from the stairs, but it opens so that we can explore. It's just packed full of cargo. So much cargo. Guess it's still going. There's a lot to see. And 2 hours already. It's been 84 years. I like how the Honor and Glory people have to have a little bit of fun. They've thrown in a strange, mysterious treasure chest over here filled with gems. Curious coins. Makes you wonder what kind of secrets the Titanic took to the bottom of the ocean. Find the pirate. I just won that quest. Yes, the pirates. Titanic pirates. Gotta be a potato down there. There probably is somewhere. Down the spiral stairs, all the way. Kind of dizzying, honestly. I love the view looking up of them in here. You just get a sense for how massive these structures actually are. That's across multiple decks. And we have the Firemen's Tunnel. I don't know if I've read I Survived for Titanic. I've read A Night to Remember, I've read On a Sea of Glass. I've read a lot of different Titanic books. This is the path that the firemen would have taken. There's a side that's the way in, a side that's the way out, and I realized that I have walked in on the outside, so oops, broke the rules. You would go out this way and in this way, so that you never had any traffic jam. Something that I think is very cool about this room that you can kind of see. This platform that we're walking on is actually raised above the very bottom of the ship. And you can kind of glimpse down here, you can see how it's seated on top of some of that metal working that goes even farther down. It's like a floating platform. Hard to angle it and see, it's pretty dark, but you can kind of see down under it here. So there's more stuff underneath. And in general, that's how the whole tank top is structured, I think. There's these wooden plates situated on top of the steel frame of the ship. Of course, this leads into the boiler rooms, where we're going to go next. The boiler rooms are my favorite levels in the game right now. They are very intricate and very cool. A little bit of my drink there before we go in here. So this is the boiler room. Boiler room 6 we are entered. There's so much to see, and I don't know what half of it is, but I do know one thing, and that is that this ladder here is an escape ladder that runs all the way up to Scotland Road. It's kind of cool to see. Can't climb it, but it's there. So when this boiler room was opened to the sea, which happened right over here, iceberg ground up against this wall, and the ocean began to pour in very rapidly into this boiler room. Some of the people who'd been working in here perhaps turned and ran straight through here to this ladder. Of course, there is a watertight door here that would have closed. Kind of scary to imagine. That's the good thing, is that there is this ladder here, because if there wasn't that ladder, you could just get stuck in this room, and that ladder is your only way out. Drop something, it's gone forever? Yeah, if you drop something beneath the tank top, it's gone. These watertight doors are interesting because they would automatically close. You can see some of that mechanism here. I'm pretty sure if water rises up around this thing down here, it lifts upwards and triggers this whole complex mechanism that then would ring this alarm bell and cause the door to start dropping. So even if the doors hadn't been shut by the time this boiler room started to flood, this would have quickly shut on its own. But yes, this is the boiler room. It's very intricate. There's so much to see in here. Very dirty space. You can also go into the coal bunkers now. This is where the trimmers would have worked. So what they would do is they would come in here with these wheelbarrows that you see all over the place. They'd like take it in here, fill it up with coal, wheel it on out of the bunker, and then deposit it in piles in front of the different furnaces for people to shovel in. And so you had the trimmers who do that. You've got the stokers, or the firemen as they were called, who actually shovel the coal in. And then you've got greasers who go around in anything mechanical that has moving parts like this, or these like gears and valves. The greasers would take little oil things and oil them up to keep them from rusting. Amazing place for murder. Yeah, just, you know, no one's gonna notice if a body burns up in there. No one's gonna notice. The boiler rooms, of course, run aft. Look there in a moment. There's a few interesting things to see here. First, we're gonna go into this coal bunker, because this one here in particular, you can climb all the way up. At the very top of the coal bunker, this very dark space, we get to see some cool stuff. These bunkers would house the coal, so what trimmers would do, they wouldn't climb up it on a pile of coal as I just did. Trimmers would climb up, I'm trying to find one. I think they're on the front. It's hard to move around these spaces, you've got a duck hitting my head. No way forward. Okay, so the trimmers would climb up these ladders here to the upper layers of the coal bunker, and it was their job to maneuver coal around, to shift it. You would take coal, kind of push it down into these holes where it would fall to the lower layers of the bunker, and then it would be loaded into the wheelbarrows and taken out to the people who are funneling it into the boilers. So you'd have people who are working up here in this space, which I imagine would be nightmarish. I'd get so claustrophobic. And you'd push coal down, then you'd bring it out. And if the ship ever became imbalanced, the trimmers also had to just move coal from one side of the bunker to the other side, so that it remained balanced and didn't twist in one direction or another, as Titanic did. These here, these ladders going up, are the coal chutes. So when they're in the port, on the very side of the ship, there's some hatches that you open. You load up coal through here, you dump them in, and it falls through these chutes down here into the coal bunkers. And then it gets shifted about from there. Alright, we're gonna leave the bunker now. It is very easy to get lost in here, I will say. Especially because it would not be this well lit. When you're working up here, you would basically carry a torch with you. These are all portable torches that have just been laid out for the sake of convenience. You would carry a torch with you, and that would be your only light. It would be basically pitch black in here otherwise, though, in reality. So you can just imagine how claustrophobic that would be. And then it's a great environment, too, because not only is it pitch black and you're using this tiny torch to see around, but there's also holes that fall down quite a ways. You could fall through and die, I imagine, or break your leg, break your back, I don't know. So it just seems like a very hazardous space to work. Then we go this way. This here is an ash hoist, so another job that someone on the ship would do, I think the trimmers did it, you would rake out the ash from the bottom of the boilers, and then you would bring it to here. This is an ash ejector. You would dump it into this hole, you would pull this here, that goes up to there and triggers an ash ejector that then washes out with water the ash and dumps it out into the ocean so you can pollute our world with the coal ash residue you just dump. But if you're close to a port, of course, you can't just dump ash out. Even back then, they didn't let you just dump ash into the ports. They wanted to keep those pretty. So what would you do then? Well, that's what the ash hoist is. You would load the ash into this hoist, and then the ash gets hoisted up to what is called an ash place. This here is the ash ejector's top. You can see how it would just flow through out the side of the ship. But yeah, when you're in port, you use the ash hoist. You hoist the ash up to an ash place like this. And then once it's hoisted up, you store it here. And you keep it here until you are out at sea, where you can then safely dump it into the ocean and pollute the world. So that's how the ash place was used. And this ash place also connects to that steward's lavatory that we were in earlier. Kind of funny. Back down we go to the boiler room. We're on the catwalks above the boilers now, and you gotta love how dangerous it is to just climb on top of this superheated machinery. Can you imagine how hot it would be on these catwalks as you're walking above the boilers themselves? Walk into the hole. Yeah. I'll just fall right through. I'll tell you, you just fall. It's another hazard at sea. Imagine you're hoisting something up, doing your job here in the ash place, and you misstep and tumble. Whoa! You fall down. That would ruin your day pretty quick. You also can enter Boiler Room 5 for the first time ever. And we can even glimpse in here to see the infamous coal fire. So, the coal fire really was just as intense as this. It happened on ships. A little bit of coal catches fire, and then all you do is you take the coal from this bunker, and you load it up in the wheelbarrows, and then you bring it to the other side and fill this bunker up with the coal that was on the other side. And in so doing, you starve the fire out, because once it burns out with this tiny amount of coal, it's done. And that's that. And it really doesn't cause any more damage than that. So the whole theory about how the coal fire sank the ship is just garbage. Something I really like is that they enabled you to glimpse all of the boiler rooms, even though you can't enter them. You can just get this great view here of all of them. In fact, if I go even farther back here, you can see I'm standing in boiler room 6, looking forward all the way back to boiler room 1. Kind of gives you a sense for the scale of these rooms. What sunk the ship? The raging fire, yeah. Okay. Onto the aft portions of the boiler room here. Again, in here you can also climb up on top of the boilers. You have to duck to get around. It would be such a hazardous place to work. So many OSHA violations. You have to duck and climb underneath these metal beams. You have to duck and climb underneath the probably honestly very superheated funnel trunk here. So like imagine you've got the furnaces running, and then these trunks that go upwards. See them a little better from this perspective. These trunks that go upwards feed up all of that smoke that goes into the funnel. So imagine just touching that, how hot that would be. And then in order to get to certain parts of the catwalks up here, you have to walk on these things that go over the steam pipes and duck your head underneath one of those superheated funnel trunks and maneuver forward. Just so many OSHA violations. And you gotta just duck and walk on like your hands and knees in this portion because the ceiling's so low here. Burn wounds often happen on ships. Yeah, I could imagine. But anyway, coming up from there, you have these fiddlies, they are called. Well, before the fiddlies, I want to point something out that I thought was interesting. These here. These are... I find them. These are tanks, heated tanks. What these would do, in all the rooms, when we go back into like the reception room, I'll point this out. You've got braided portions that run along the lower portions of the room that cover up vents, and those vents have hot air that comes out through them to keep the rooms heated up. And that's run through this system here. I don't know exactly how it works, I'm not going to pretend to, but effectively, some of the steam that the boilers generate gets fed into this system, which then gets fed through these pipes up into the fiddly space here, which then runs upwards and out onto the various decks, where it then runs along the lower portions of the rooms to help regulate the temperature in them. Like this one would run out onto, I don't know what deck I'm even on right now, but one of the decks, this one is running out onto a higher deck. Those ones go up somewhere boat deck level, looks like. But that's part of how the ship was heated. This one goes down onto E deck or D deck, I'd say. Probably for D deck, honestly, because this is the E deck landing, and that's getting up closer to D deck. I would hit my head so much. I'm a tall person. I would for sure hit my head. I love the view from here, though. You get to look up at the first funnel. Really cool to see it looming overhead. Also really cool is that we can now go into this room and see the base of the funnel. Some of the steelwork that keeps it upright. And this massive tube that all of the funnel exhaust go up through. And from the forward side, you can also see some of the funnel, but it's leaning away from you, so it's a bit harder to see. There's one other thing I would like to point out in here that I've noticed in the demo. I guess you could call it one of Titanic's fatal flaws, perhaps. So, oops, I fell through the boilers. Nice to know that I found a way to break the demo while showing it off. Reload into there. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. Is that Goose is here. Whenever Goose is around, games just start breaking around me. It's the curse of the Goose. So something really cool that I want to show off. Titanic's fatal flaw. So we are here now on Seadeck. And so imagining the flow of the water in this room, okay? You hit the iceberg over there, it starts coming in and pooling up and filling this whole space. Eventually it rises up here into the Fiddlies. But then you've always heard, like, oh, it spills over into the next boiler room. How does that work? How does that happen? That happens right here. So coming back this way, this bulkhead here doesn't go any higher than Seadeck, as I've often heard. That space right there is literally looking over into the other boiler room. And the space above us here is that space we were just in, where you've got the lower portion of the funnel casing. So right here is where the water would rise to this point, and then rise above this, and spill over onto the other side. Where if I run real quick to the other side, I can then show you that it would spill over that part of the bulkhead. Yeah, right here, actually. It would spill over the bulkhead here. Into this part of the ship. Which is right where I just was showing these off. I think you can see the opening. Yeah, right here. Here's the opening looking up again into that space. So, because the bulkhead doesn't rise beyond this point, it's able to spill over the top of the boiler room here into this one, where it would then flow downward and cascade into this space as it reportedly did. Because I believe this is the boiler room where suddenly the bulkhead gave way and spilled over into here, and a few people were washed away. A couple firemen, who I think are the first people known to have. So we're leaving the boiler rooms now. We've seen all of third class, we've seen all of second class, we've seen a lot of first class. We've seen the crew spaces in the bow. I think all that's left is the rest of first class. We're going to enter first class again through the doorway here. Finally nearing the end of this 2.5 hours later. I spent too much time in first class at the start. I should have gone faster. At least it was comprehensive. Yeah, 2 engineers would have died when the head broke. So before we had gone through to Seadeck, which is here. Then we went aft and took a detour a bit. Now we're back, so further down the stairs is the D-Deck reception room, which is like my top 3 favorite rooms, as I've mentioned. I just love the way that the light works in here. We're very near the Turkish baths. It's just so pretty. A very large space. You've got the staircase in the middle there with the candelabra. You've got the stained glass windows. What's there not to love? This room has gotten better and better with each release, I think. So photogenic. So many great angles of this room. Not really a lot to say about it other than it looks amazing. The room is quite well documented. It was more popular than the first class lounge. I think for good reason. You can probably get a sense of why. Also, something people typically aren't aware of is that you could actually smoke in here. You were just simply asked to not smoke in this room until after lunch had been served. But this room was smoking friendly, well, which is probably another reason it was fairly popular, if I had to guess. I don't know, though, that you would have seen like a very cigarette smoke-filled room in here. I still think that it was... People would have typically gone to the smoking room to smoke, but still, the fact that you could in here probably was pretty... why it was so successful. But everyone loved this room. Passengers very fondly remember. Of course, I've kind of just glazed past it, but you have the piano in here as well. This is where the band would play in this reception room. Yes, I think in terms of like just pure open space, this is the largest segment, because you've got massive portion of the reception room and then this significant stretch of the dining saloon. I'm not a big fan of the dining saloon, I'm not gonna lie. It's better now than it used to be, and the stained glass in the alcoves is very pretty. Like, this is just beautiful. I love it. But when you get towards the rest of the room, I just start to not like it that much. I don't know. Something about the vantage points in here. Weird to me. It's definitely a pretty room. Yeah, I don't like the floors. The floors are probably what honestly ruins a lot of it for me. The styling's just strange too. Something about this room's just never really clicked with me. Like, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of lag in here. Stream lag. You have another piano in here, although this piano would have only really been used, I think, for church service. Same with the piano in the second class saloon. I know a lot of people do really like this room though, so I don't let my personal bias affect me. I still try and find good angles of it for all the pictures I take for Titanic Voyage. It's not my personal cup. There are some things I do like about it, though. The stained glass windows always are really pretty. So, like, the views from here, I think, are some of my favorites. From the back part of the saloon, looking forward. That's a pretty cool vantage point, I think. Did my mic die for a moment? Can you hear me? Is my voice still coming through? Oh yeah, it's carpet in the reception room. Zoom in, you can see it is carpet. I think that's another thing. I know that you don't want a dining saloon to have a carpeted floor, of course, but it definitely gets a different kind of look, because just the way the light bounces off the carpet, I guess. Like, look how bright the reception room is. The reception room is so bright, and the light really filters deep into the room. Then you turn around and come into here with this linoleum floor, and it's not nearly as bright. It's a lot darker, much more lit up by the ceiling lamps than... Like, just panning back and forth between the two rooms, you can see some of the difference, can't you? Just not as pristine as this, and I think part of that's because of the carpet, honestly. There's also just more windows in here, I've noticed. The windows are more spaced out in here. I think that actually hurts the overall lighting of the room. Wonderful little mural that is really... I think they've made this high res, because you can zoom in now and see, like, the individual grains of this tapestry. It's an impressive level of detail here. We're going to venture forward at this point. Yeah, I honestly... might be sacrilegious. I need to really look at the two rooms closely, but I might like the reception room better than the Cafe Parisian right now. I don't know. This really nice room. We're gonna venture down. There is a new corridor open here, but it's literally just an empty corridor, so I'm not gonna waste any time in it. Coming down to here. This, of course, is the entrance to the wash court. Stitch, yeah, whatever. You know I'm really not aesthetically minded, and I've also been talking now for nearly 3 hours. Mind is getting somewhat shot. Here we have the squash court. Really hasn't changed. It's still here. You could still play squash. I still don't even know what squash is, but you could play it here. One thing that is kind of cool is you can actually see through this vent up top now. Where this actually would lead to, it would go into the Seadeck third class spaces. You could see some of the vent work there, in fact, so this would lead up to Seadeck, and perhaps even in certain conditions a little bit of daylight could find its way down into here. Although it's more for ventilation than anything. Here into the post office. Been fence in the squash court, yes. Ask Mr. Hader, that's all about that. This is the post office. It hasn't changed, it just looks better than the theme of a lot of these rooms. I really like this perspective here. You know why? Just do. And down here is the mail hold. I recently did learn a little bit more about the mail workers. So, obviously, their job is mostly spent sorting through mail. The ship is loaded with mail in the port, and throughout the voyage, the postal workers, who are not White Star crew, they're employed by the Royal Mail. Royal Mail? I think it's called Royal Mail. Royal Mail Clerks? Yeah. Royal Mail Clerks, or they're the U.S. Post Office. They're employed through the Post Office or the Royal Mail directly, not through the White Star Line at all. So they work for the Post Office, and they spend most of their time in these rooms sorting through all of the mail in these bags, deeming stuff that is important and that needs to be sifted out, stuff that can just be dumped into a bag and thrown to a post office back on the door, or taking passenger mail that they write and then filtering it as necessary. And what also interested me is that the I'm gonna go into the baggage holds and keep talking about it, but the Americans, you'd expect, because we're sailing to America, so you'd expect the U.S. Post Office to really be the ones in charge of a lot of the mail going there, but no, actually it was the other way around. The Royal Mail Clerks were in charge of the post coming from England to America, primarily because they wanted to ensure that the mail was delivered from their country to its origin, or to its destination rather, appropriately. And then similarly on the way back from America to England, the American clerks would have been in charge of the mail on the way back. And it just struck me as weird, because I would have imagined it's the other way around, where the Americans are in charge of the mail going to America, and the UK people would be in charge of the mail going across the sea over to there, but no, it's the other way around. Granted, I still think they all helped one another out. I don't think that any of them just sat around for a voyage doing nothing. But just interesting to think about. They kind of lived in their own little world down here. Yes, as Mr. Andrews says, they were 2 British and 3 Americans. And I know that their quarters were designed to hold 2 of each, 2 Americans and 2 British. I'm not sure if it's really known where the 3rd American stayed. Back up. I'm gonna skip across here to Seadeck. We have the Seadeck elevators. There is one new thing over here. This is E23, which was the cabin of Margaret Brown. And interesting is that in Margaret Brown's testimony, she mentions how I think she had been reading a book at the time of the collision, and how the collision shook her room and like knocked something over or whatever. And then she mentions a little later on peering out from her cabin and seeing workers, members of the crew, lowering a watertight door. And it's interesting because there is no watertight door out here. But what actually happened, what she saw, is she peers out of her cabin and she sees people maneuvering with this here. This is a watertight door deck plate that lowers a watertight door on the floor below, but it's activated from up here. So she saw stewards fiddling around with this right here from her cabin as she's looking this way. So that's one of the many reasons that it's now believed this is Margaret Brown's cabin. Tiny wardrobe, yeah. Really, look at that. It's... How would you... Imagine you're a first-class passenger, right? With, especially, yeah, someone like Molly Brown with so many extravagant dresses. What are you gonna fit in here? At least you have a larger wardrobe over here, but this one's just so weird. It's It's tiny. It's look at the mirror on it too. I've never noticed just how small that is. That's really hilarious. Anyway, that's her cabin. And he would have perhaps rode these elevators through the elevator bank each day to wherever she wanted to go. Or maybe she walked up the stairs, who knows? Seadeck stairs are right here. Always gotta love that view looking up. We are very near the end now. Just have F deck left to go, I think. Down here, the F deck landing of the staircase. The most plain landing of the grand staircase. Here we have the Turkish bath. Information about Turkish baths there. Let's go on in. Don't women's clothes look smaller? Are they not being worn? I don't know. I don't know anything about fashion. This is the cooling room, which is the most well-preserved room on the entire wreck. Very famously, you can see videos and pictures. Give me a second. I'm gonna see if I can find one. Yeah, here. This is exactly what I was thinking of. Open the image. There we go. So this here is from the wreck. This is the cooling room. And it is, in fact, this very same wall we're looking at right now. See the, I don't know what they're called, it's over the door here too. I think that's a fan room or something. You've got the wall panels, you've got this bit of the wall here, lantern. You can see all of that very clearly right here. How interesting is that? The room is very well preserved because of the tiling they used in here. I forget exactly what the tiling was. Hang on, let me get my YouTube chat back up as well. Ready to go. There it is. Alright, now I'm good. What a cool room. Boo. Lame. So I've talked about it before. I'll try and go over it once more, but the Turkish baths were designed to be used as a larger facility. I believe you would buy a ticket to the Turkish baths, and I think the order that you would go in. And of course, I think if you just were like, I only want to go steam in the hot room or whatever, I think you could do that, but I'm pretty sure what would happen is that you would first... Oh man, I forget. I think you would first go into the swimming pool. Where you would have a nice swim in the water. Cool seeing water like that. You'd have a nice little swim in the pool, saltwater pool. Pumped in from the ocean and then heated up using the adjacent... There it is. I think that's the pipe that would have heated it up, coming in from boiler room 5. You have a nice swim in the pool. You get all salty, get all watered down. Then you come over here and have a shower. And after your shower, you come this way. You are led into one of these shampoo rooms where you're then laid down and given a nicer wash. Your head is shampooed. I don't think it looks very comfortable. It's like a stone slab, but you know, it is what it is. 1912. You maybe have another bit of a shower here. Or I think if you didn't want to swim, you could just start off here in this room. So you do that, then you come this way into the temperate room, this one. You relax. This is a room that's heated up. I forget exactly what temperature the target is, but it's designed to be a warmer room. It's much warmer in appearance. There's even a room here called the hot room. I admit I don't really know what the hot room is or how it differs from the temperate room. I do know that this is the steam room, which is a steam bath, basically. You come in, you shut the door, you turn on the steam flow, and it flows in through this pipe down here, and the whole room gets filled with steam, and it's a sauna, basically. Nice first-class sauna. So you come in one of these rooms, and you get heated up real nice, and then you are led back out into the cooling room, and you cool down, you towel yourself off, you maybe have a nice chilled beverage or two, and then you leave. You're done in the Turkish bath. And this here is a weighing chair. And the idea back then was that when you first enter the facility, before you undergo all of this, you would sit down in the weighing chair and weigh yourself, and then you would go through this whole process, and in doing so you would lose like water body weight. Then on your way out of the cooling room you would weigh yourself again and see how much weight you had lost. I always like these rooms, they're very cool. The design of them is so unique. We're also featured in some of the very first Honor and Glory demos. I have a fondness for these rooms. I never use them enough in Titanic Voyage. I always say that I'm going to use them, and then I never come here. I'll have to host a party here some years. This is the electric bath, though. So there were two variants, and just judging by the fact that there is a steam room just right down the corridor, I'm gonna guess that this isn't the steam variant, which would have been you lay in there and it fills with steam and gives you a nice steam bath. I'm gonna guess this is basically the tanning bed, wherein you lay in there and the inside is lined with a bunch of light bulbs that shine down on you and basically give you a tan. Cold, take you to the hot room? Fine. Hot room. You go. Now you're nice and warm. You intend to use them multiple times in 2025? 2025? That's 3 voyages away. I'd love to play a Turkish bath attendant. I think that would be something that I've never seen really done. So, this is the whole Turkish bath facility. It was all designed to be used together, but of course you could just come and swim, or you could come and just have a steam bath if you really wanted. But the idea was that you would undergo this whole process, and it would be quite the affair of enjoying the cooling room and the shampoo rooms, temperate room, and perhaps the pool, and going back and forth several times. So there is something else in here too, and that is this way. We have linen storage. Linen storage. So there's no laundry on the ship, and whenever something got dirty, they would just take it in here, store it in these rooms. There's several rooms for clean linen, several rooms for soiled linen. I don't know which is which exactly in here. But these are the rooms where linen would be stored. I've only loosely got plans for next year. And loosely. The linen storage, though, does lead back out onto Scotland Road. And I'm going to now run up to the boat deck again for a shortcut back here because I realize I actually haven't gone around the primary boat deck at all, and we're going to end it there up on the primary boat deck. This door here. This door leads to a steward's staircase that ultimately leads up onto the engineer's promenade. Engineer's Promenade, of course, being the place I had mentioned earlier. The Engineer's Skylight leads up to there. That's the very tops of the skylight, and you would climb up that big engineer's shaft and emerge through like one of these doors. I forget which one. I think it's this one over here. You would emerge out onto the Engineer's Promenade, and this is where they would enjoy themselves. And here we have the first class promenade. All the views looking up at the funnel. Leads forward, of course, to the Officers' Promenade, where we have already been. I'm pretty sure we've already been there. I don't know. Really nothing new up there anyway, though. Raised roof over the lounge here. One thing that interests me that I didn't know, all these are called cowl vents. These are used to ventilate the insides of the ship. In fact, you can see what it ventilates if you on it. This one does the reading and writing room. But the cowl vents themselves were designed such that the portion that's sticking up could be turned. So you could angle it to face the wind so that it can suck air down in through the vents. So they're always, in all the models, just looking aft like this, but in actuality it could be turned around and maneuvered such that it faces the wind better. Don't know about the really big ones like that. It could be. We've got the outside of the gymnasium, the inside through to it. Chat GPT. You know what? You know what? That's not a bad idea. That's a joke character in and of itself. Let an AI create your character for you. Have it write your biography, and then whatever it writes, you play it. It's some wild storyline, I bet. There's passageways here that lead down to the Seadeck Promenade. It's fully explorable. Gonna do a loop around that, and then we will probably call it there, as we've been going for 3 hours now. And I still don't even think we've seen everything. There's some stuff I'm pretty sure I forgot to look at. But again, this demo can be downloaded for free, and it's been designed to run on any modern system, really. I personally hate the AI character pictures. I think that they look like creepy dolls, but that's just me. I have never really yet seen an AI-generated face that I think looks good. Yes, Titanic Voyage. So I did mention it 3 hours ago now, so you'd be forgiven for having missed it, but I work on a game called Titanic Voyage. It's a web game you can find at www.titanic-voyage.com. Someone can maybe type that out in the chat. We recreate the voyage of the Titanic every year through a text-based roleplay game in real time. Give that game a plug. If you haven't ever tried it before, look it up, give it a try. It's very interesting and helps us connect with the passengers and their stories by means of creating our own characters and our own stories within the space of Titanic. And there's also another free game that plays, but it only runs April 10th through April 18th each year. So, it's a limited time thing. That is independent of Titanic Honor and Glory, which is what I'm looking at now, this demo. If you like this demo and would like to play it yourself, a moment here, I'm getting the link. If you like this demo and would like to play it yourself, you can find it there at titanichg.com/project-401. You can also learn a little bit about Project 401 there. The experience this demo will one day grow into. Features stuff like sunset and nighttime modes, historical features, testimonies from passengers and crew. You can discover, learn information about various rooms on board, etc. Just going to be a great experience, I'm sure. And if it's anywhere near as visually stunning as this experience has been, then we are all in for a treat. I am particularly very excited to see it at sunset mode, and also whenever that releases, you know that I will be streaming it. So look forward to that. We are wrapping up. Yes, we are near the end. End is in sight. I'm just gonna go to the officer's promenade since I'm pretty sure I did forget it, but we had a nice little stroll around the Seadeck Promenade there. Yes, it is quite a sizable download. You will be downloading it for a while if you don't have a fast internet. But Project 401 will be on Steam. Being, of course, a very popular platform for all those indie games. We can check the Marconi room as I forget if I did. Have it on good authority as well that we're nearly done with the stream. Yes, what was I saying? Yeah, the team at Honor and Glory works really hard, and they often don't really get the recognition that I think they deserve, and their commitment to not just make a game, but to kind of make a virtual museum of sorts is a very unique approach, and they really don't get a lot of money for this. I know that a lot of people say that, like, oh, it's all just a big scam project or whatever, but they really don't make any money. This is all just a labor of love. So if you can, consider supporting them and letting them know how much you like this demo and downloading it and telling other people to try it out as well. And consider looking out for Project 401 in the future, and eventually one day the flagship Titanic Honor and Glory. Project 401 information right here. The flagship Titanic Honor and Glory someday that'll hopefully create 100% of the ship and let you explore everything on board. Unprecedented level of detail. Yeah, the clock ticking is the only sound in here right now. It is a bit weird. Here's the Marconi room. Skylight up above. Up at the first funnel, where the Marconi operators would stay, their cabin. Of course, got silent room that houses all the equipment that would be used for this. It is relaxing, I will say. Just like leaving this running up in a room, like this right here, while I'm working on stuff, and you have the ticking of the clock, and the visuals especially too, it's really cool. I've just left this up and running while I'm doing stuff on my other monitor a lot, and it's relaxing. Why not? We'll end it where we started it, since we're so close. So, yes, what else to say? In regards to Titanic Voyage, registration for that will open in just 6 days now. Hope you're all ready. I'm looking forward to sharing another voyage with you all again. And in terms of Titanic Honor and Glory and Project 401, be sure to keep an eye out for further updates. And if you want to support their Patreon, you get a bunch of cool extra tidbits and get access to stuff a little bit early. And of course, feel free to download and try this demo out yourselves. It's really impressive, and every time I load it up, I see something new that I didn't notice before, so there's a lot to explore and a whole lot to see. We're going to end it here. I don't think I have anything else to really say. We began the stream from a perspective like this. Looking at the clock, it read 12 o'clock p.m. Now it reads 3:08 p.m. Been at this for 3+ hours, so I need to give my voice a rest. I need to get some other things done. I need to get ready for dinner and such here. Thank you all for wandering around the ship with me and talking about it. I hope you enjoyed looking at it. Hope you're looking forward to Titanic Voyage. I hope that you support and follow Project 401's development. It's gonna be great. And of course, Titanic Honor and Glory. All hail Lord Goose. Yeah, we will see. Wait, hold on. Hold on. This is one of those moments where you see something that you never saw before, and it like stops you from even signing out of the stream because you look at it and you think to yourself, what am I looking at? What are these like baby faces on the Honor and Glory carving? They're kind of creepy, aren't they? What is that? And how have I never noticed that before? What else is in this carving? Is there anything weird? Hold on. Like all this lovely floral flowers and nature. More floral nature stuff. You got Honor and Glory, of course, crowning time, and got these like birds or griffins or whatever they are down here, which I think are really, really cool. More floral patterns. Why are there two baby faces? They do look like cherub faces in it. that soulless gaze. So, they do look a bit like the cherubs. Yeah, maybe that's what they're going for? Huh. Well, okay. Now that I've completely changed my perspective of this clock, and I'll never unsee these baby faces, I think we're gonna end it there. Thank you all again for joining me. I believe I've said by now many times the things I'd like you to support, and yeah. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to add. We'll see you all at registration in 6 days. In the meantime, download and enjoy this demo. Well worth the download. It takes all day to get it. For some people. It's like 30-something gigabytes, so I hope you have a good internet. See you all later. Oh, will there be another stream? I will probably do a stream around registration time again. I don't know an exact day yet, but I know people like the bio readings. I might do that or something like that. So look forward to that. There will probably be at least one more stream between now and the void. So I will probably see you all then, and if not, then see you all in the very near future on board. Until then, farewell, everybody.